Okay, in this section, we're going to work on the reflection in the pond and the rocks over here in the greenery all along this part. So I have here sap green, burnt sienna, cadmium orange, and titanium buff. We might need yellow ochre eventually. So for now, I'm just going to try to see if I can highlight this part right there using burnt sienna, orange, orange highlights burnt sienna a bit, and I'm going to put a little bit of highlights over here. Okay, so that needs a tiny bit of titanium buff. It's too orangey. Let's take as well green. Green will tone it down because red, it's kind of a earthy red, and that green will tone it down, will tone down the earthy red. Titanium buff will highlight it. Sap green will tone it down. So it's not, it's kind of, I shouldn't say tone it down, probably it's desaturate the color. We don't need to put too much. And I think we definitely need yellow ochre eventually. This is too red, too much red. So whatever I'm putting in here, I'm going to just do this. Kind of with the round brush. I'm just going to push the color down. And by this time, my color, whatever I have paint on the brush, is almost like at the end. So it's not, my brush is not loaded. I'm going to take sap green, burnt sienna, sap green. That makes a dark brown. And I'm going to put it here. Again. A bit of sap green now. Let's take a tiny bit of titanium buff, put it in that sap green. Should have some green in here. And all I'm doing is just kind of suggestion of green and highlights. Round brush helps a lot. All right, so this is a sap green I have, and it's mixed with a bit of that mixture in here. The best thing to do when you're doing reflection in water is to use glazing. So instead of using heavy paint, use transparent paint. Meaning...
What's the base color of the water? I don't know if I ever put that on.
Oh, that was, I think it was a combination. I mixed, let's try to remember. The sap green was mixed with maybe burnt sienna. And that gives you a dark. If you mix sap green and you take burnt sienna or burnt umber, even burnt umber.
Yeah.
Sap green, burnt umber will give you that dark green. Yeah, see, that's almost a kind of darkish, very dark green in there. So
I guess that's what I did actually.
Yeah. Yes, it does. That's okay. Don't make it. Don't highlight it.
Yeah.
We need that dark. We need the dark. Yeah. I'm gonna take again sap green. A little bit of that mixture in here. Take a little bit of titanium buff. This is a reflection of the green on top, right here in the water. So there's some green reflection in the water.
Sorry, what was the first coat before you did that green coat? Sorry.
No, it's okay. You mean this one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. First coat of everything.
I used for the orange color, I used burnt sienna, cadmium orange. I put in it a bit of green to tone it down, desaturate it, and then a little bit of titanium buff.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. I lost some of the greens on top, so I'm putting it back. That's what I'm doing right now. From the grass part. Some darks in here. I lost that too, so I'm putting it back. Oh, I like this. Nice. Nice. Okay, good. Do you want me to pause a bit?
Yes.
Yeah? All right. Let's pause.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's see. So I have here yellow ochre. I'm going to introduce yellow ochre slowly with a bit of burnt sienna. Touch of burnt sienna, not much, into the rocks on this side. So this paint is more like glaze than heavy paint. And I'm going to take the same paint, same color, and add a tiny bit of titanium buff to it, and just highlight the top of the rocks. It will dry darker. Even if it looks busy right now, it's okay because, you know, once we put the reflection in the pond, this will look okay. Just a couple of touches here and there and dots, especially for the ones in the back. It's good enough. I think we should, that should be enough. I'm going to bring some of the green, sap green, titanium buff, a little bit of yellow ochre to tone down the sap green and turn it into more of a yellow green. It's like a mossy kind of green over the rocks, some part. That's enough. It's good. Because I have the green already here, I'm going to put a bit of water in it. And I'm going to give this part a reflection. So I'm doing downward, kind of down brushstroke, like this.
That's green with titanium?
Titanium buff, green, and a tiny bit of yellow ochre. And I'm doing this movement down of the water. See, it's lifting because it's glaze. So it's water in it. And then what I do is I go back and do this across. Maybe I should wait for it to dry so I don't lift the paint before I touch it again. All right, this is good. Yeah, see, I have gaps here. That's because the paint is lifting and I'm going over it so many times. Anyway, there's a lot of green in here. Should tone it down a bit in the reflection. Okay, I'm going to take Sap Green, burnt sienna to get that dark color again. I'm going to show the burnt sienna more in the Sap Green. Okay. I'm going to pause and then we'll do the reflection. Okay, for the water part, I'm going to wet the surface a bit with water. So when I put the color on top or the paint, it will give me a kind of a glaze feel. So now this is wet. I have a flat or a bright, and I'm going to take Sap Green. I'm going to put a little bit of burnt umber in it. Actually, I should have done the wetting now. Mix the color and then wet the paint. Then wet the surface. I'm going to take more highlight, so titanium buff. Not too much. You don't want it to look too bright. Let's see. So this is still okay. Still kind of wet. I'm going to start from here. Okay, that's good. That's one. So I'm going to put the highlights or the reflections slowly. One color at a time. That's the other one. So you see, when you use a wet kind of brush or paint, it gives you that softness and transparency, which is actually what it is. It's transparency. The whole thing is reflection is transparency. I'll put that. Okay, let's see. Let's do this. I'm going to do the same with the burnt sienna and the orange. So overlap. And a little bit here. And a smaller one here with the corner of my brush. I'm just going to do a small kind of narrow reflection. Okay. Now, same idea, but I'm going to take more of the burnt sienna and put it in the green, in the same green mixture that I had before, I was using before. And I'm going to do the same thing. So up to now, all of my colors, paints, are muted. They're not too bright. And I wait for it to dry, wait for the paint to dry, because it goes darker, so I can assess a bit how much I should be highlighting or what I need to put on top of that. But for now, it looks perfect. Actually, it looks great.
The color you're using now is burnt sienna.
Burnt sienna, it has a bit of that same green I used before, but it's burnt sienna, yeah. Let's go back to burnt sienna actually, and just kind of green, burnt sienna. I'm trying to go in and just put some darks in between. So up till now, everything looks kind of, doesn't look like water reflection because we don't have anything yet on top. And you'll see once we start putting the rest of the details on top, it will look like more like water. Also, I am going to be highlighting. I'm going to be highlighting this part a bit. The same reflection I made. Okay. All right. Same colors again. Sap Green, burnt sienna, titanium buff. I'm going to put some water. And then I'm going to change my brush so I have more control, because I need to put this highlight in a smaller area, so I don't need the big, I don't want to use the big brush. All right, let's see here. See, because this all dried darker. It's drying darker. It's acrylics, it's going to dry darker, so we're going to punch it up a bit. But not everywhere. So you start doing this in one area of the highlight, or the reflection, I mean, and you just kind of make sure that you don't highlight the whole thing, because this is what's happening with the highlights, is that whatever it's in the reflection in the water, reflected in water, is not one color. It has different values. So your reflection is going to reflect the same thing, the different values that are there. Some green in between. This is a busy pond with all of those highlights and reflection. But I'm making sure that my paint is not thick. It's more like a glaze. And not too glazy, you know, not too transparent. All right, so that's okay. This is good. This is enough for kind of this kind of reflection. And now I'm going to move into the punchier colors. So I'm going to take burnt sienna, cadmium orange, mix it with burnt sienna, round brush, and I'm going to start putting the orange part, and let's take a bit more burnt sienna. This is too orangey. Oh, that's better. lost a bit some of the dark in here, so I'm going to put it back using Sap Green and a bit of burnt sienna, because this dark gives the illusion of depth, and you don't want to lose it too much, because then you'll end up with flat surface. Okay, so let's take a bit. This is like a glaze right now, and I'm gonna glaze this part to tone it down. This one here in the back. Now, same idea, or same colors, I should say, with a tiny bit of titanium buff. And I'm going to put a bit of highlight of orange here and there. Earthy orange, I should say. That's good. So the first layer, we had dark green. Then we added the reflection on top in green, and sienna and titanium buff glaze. Then we added those floating orangey parts in burnt sienna and cadmium orange. Then I added a bit of titanium buff to the same colors, and I just highlighted some of the floating orangey parts. And now I'm going to do the same but with green again. I'm going to take green, let's put a bit of yellow ochre in it, and titanium buff. Perfect. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to enhance some of these highlights in here because they dry darker. The more different values you have in the reflection, the nicer it looks. Darks, lights. reflection has different values in it. It doesn't have one, it's not only dark, it's dark and light. And that's what makes it look really beautiful and interesting. So I'm using the greens I have, and I'm just going over with some of these lighter green, which is a combination of Sap Green, Yellow Ochre, and Titanium Buff. And the reason I used Yellow Ochre is just because I want to change the green that I have. The first green I put in there is Sap Green and Burnt Sienna and Titanium Buff. Now I'm changing the green to Sap Green, Yellow Ochre, and Titanium Buff. And also, I'm going to put a couple of little dots of green here and there. Which makes it look much more interesting. I always go back and adjust some highlights because with acrylic it dries darker and it changes. Okay. I'm just adding a tiny bit of highlights with the tip of my brush. Okay, it should be good. That's enough. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is highlight this road, and I'm using Titanium Buff and Burnt Umber. Okay. I darkened the stones a bit here using burnt sienna and a bit of Sap Green and Titanium Buff. Just punch them up a bit. It's like it's nice to have that dark in here. All right, that's it. All right, so the last part I'm going to work on is the chimney smoke from the chimney. So I'm going to take, I have Cerulean Blue here, white, I'm going to take a little bit of Sap Green, touch, put it in, just because the smoke is in front of the chimneys, the smoke is in front of the trees, so it will blend more. And I'm making it into a glaze round brush, soft round brush. And I'm going to try to do this. Just put a bit of also here and here. It's just a glaze. A hint. It's optional. You don't have to put it if you don't want to. There. That's it. Done. Okay, so this project is done. It was fun. And we're going to move on to the next one. Enjoy.